This week on the Split Screen Podcast, I'm going to do some recap on both of the Nintendo Directs that we got over the last 2 weeks, and then talk a little bit about the rumor mill. Is a Gears of War collection coming sooner than we might think? Even on the PlayStation? I'll go over that coming up later in the show, so stick around. You're listening to the Split Screen Podcast. Alright, welcome to this episode of the Split Screen Podcast. I am your host, KCCHRISG. You can call me Chris if you like. It's a pleasure to have you here with me today. And it's a cold, somewhat rainy day here in KC. And I apologize for waiting so long to upload this next episode. Started off with a delay because of the fact that I had a small cold. Then it became a matter of, Nintendo's doing this Direct, I'll wait. And then they announced yet another Direct, so I waited for that. That way I can have some more information to talk about in case anything gets updated or changed. And then in the middle of recording, they changed yet something else, yet again. So I waited, so now here I am, finally getting around to doing this episode. So thank you for your patience. I apologize for the long wait in between episodes, but let's get into this one, because I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. You guys have been patient, so let's just get into this. So first I want to talk about the Nintendo Direct presentations that we got. The first one was on March 27th, and then the second one was on April 2nd. So the first one went over just some upcoming games and projects that Nintendo is working on along with the third-party developers. And the second Direct went into more of the Nintendo Switch 2 and hardware specifications and just some general information about that, along with yet some more games that were unannounced in the previous Nintendo Direct. And I imagine that we can expect to hear even more games that are under development in the summer presentation that is bound to happen sometime in June. That's when normally everybody does their presentations and does their press releases for upcoming games, developer insights, things like that on projects and possible consoles coming up. And we're going to talk about another project that is rumored to be in development, releasing later this year. That'll be in the second half of the show, so stick around for that. So let's talk about the first Nintendo Direct. We'll go one Direct at a time, a little bit easier that way. And I don't know, it's just easier to keep track of that way. So before we get into that, I want to say I've made it sort of a game to myself before these presentations start, or at least before I watch them, to where I sort of make predictions on what I think will be announced, what I think that they're going to wait to announce. And for this one, I only made two predictions. The first one is always like a layup prediction, is what I call it. It's probably gonna happen, but if it does happen, it's a pleasant surprise. So my first prediction was, we're not gonna get any Star Fox news. Why would we get Star Fox news? Nintendo doesn't even know what Star Fox is anymore. So that's always my first prediction. That's pretty much what I'm always going to predict, probably until next year. We'll see where things stand after the Switch 2 is out for a while. My second prediction going into this was no Metroid Prime 4 news, and you'll see how that goes. So those are my two predictions. If you haven't watched those Nintendo Directs and you want to get your information here, first of all, thank you. I don't know why you would want to do that, but thank you. I appreciate you tuning in for the information. I'm not going to go over every single detail. These are just some highlights and my thoughts on those highlights. So let's get into some of the information that they announced. So first of all, they started off with the announcement, and I have a big ass list of notes here, so some of them are going to be kind of redundant at this point, but I'll go over them anyway. So my first note here was the fact that they announced the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct that happened on April 2nd. So obviously that happened. We're going to go over the information on that a little bit later, so let's just move on. They showed some Dragon Quest updates. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remakes are coming this year. They didn't specify when. They just say this year, so I imagine probably sometime in the fall. Usually that's how that goes. So if you're a fan of Dragon Quest, at least the original ones, 1 and 2 HD 2D remakes are coming later this year. A new game it's not a new game, but it is a new game, but it's not a new series. Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar is coming out on August 27th, 2025, the day before my birthday. So I'm pretty excited about it because I've never played a Story of Seasons game before. But Grand Bazaar actually looks like it's a pretty fun, a little bit of a relaxing, vibrant life/farm simulator is what it was described as. So it just looks fun. It looks cool. You get to build up your own little store in the bazaar. You can do little daily tasks. You can even get married. So that's going to be fun. That'd be something I could play just to relax, end the day on. Just low-key, nothing intense. Just have fun with it. So I'm looking forward to that. And then came my parlay buster, which was they showed Metroid Prime 4 gameplay. So that just ruined my parlay. Good thing I didn't lay any money down on that. I don't even know if you can. I'm about to look into that. Let me know if you can lay down money on something like that. I totally would. I don't have a gambling addiction, I promise. But they announced that it's called Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and it's coming to the Switch 2. And I'm sure it's going to be on the Switch 1 as well, but I think they primarily showed Switch 2 gameplay. So, just for clarification, just to put it in perspective, the Metroid Prime 4 teaser, the original one, was released during E3 of 2017. 2017. So, we've been waiting a very long time just for some news about this. It was announced when E3 was still a thing. Just keep that in mind. And yeah, it's just kind of crazy that you announced something so far ahead and then it was radio silence for years after that. Almost a decade later, we're finally getting something related to this. And it's not just something. It's actual gameplay. And we get... This is what you're supposed to do. If you're going to wait this long to show updates on a project that you've been working on, this is the way to do it because they showed gameplay. They showed the world that the game is going to take place in. They showed some of the new moves, some of the level design, things like that. Instead of just saying, oh yeah, it's still in development, by the way, 10 years later. So at least they showed us, a good amount of things like that. And I imagine we're going to see more in their June update for the summertime during their Nintendo Direct that they do every year. So just some details that they announced here if you're interested in hearing them. They said it's now in development for Nintendo Switch. Duh. I mean, what else is... I wasn't expecting it to be in development for the GameCube or the 64. I imagine, yes, the Switch 2, obviously. And I can see why it took them so long to showcase this because I don't know, something tells me they were developing this for the Switch and then the Switch 2 was right around the corner, so then they started development on that primarily and had to switch things over to that newer console. And then they had to backtrack to make it work for the Nintendo Switch. I don't know if that's what happened, but I imagine that's why it might have taken so long. It got caught in that transition period, that awkward timing of a brand new console. I don't know. When you're that late in a console's life cycle, and you start an ambitious project like this with a new console right around the corner on the horizon, it's going to cause a delay because you're going to have to make it for that new console too. So that's why I imagine it got delayed. But anyway, so the game is going to take place on the planet Vuros, and it looks gorgeous. It's like a jungle-y type vibe. You've got a lot of greenery here, waterfalls. It's just like an ancient island kind of vibe. You've got ruins there. You can tell there's a lot of history on this planet, probably forgotten history, and you're gonna have to learn about this island, or I say island, this planet, and its mysteries as you play through the story mode in this and figure things out about it and its history and what it has to do with Samus as you go along. So you're going to be fighting the planet's natural predators, and it's going to be fun to learn about their weaknesses and how to exploit them, and maybe you'll have to take advantage of some of their abilities to solve the puzzles or advance through the world that way. So the planet looks stunning. It looks really good, and I like these kinds of settings, a little mysterious. You never know what you're going to find in these kind of environments. So something new that's introduced in this are psychic abilities. I kind of wish they had, a different name. Psychic abilities kind of sounds like something that my kids would make up in some random playtime outside, but we'll give it a pass, I guess. Psychic abilities are going to be given to Samus, and we don't know what exactly they're going to be. They showed some during the gameplay, but undoubtedly there's going to be more that they didn't show, and we'll be using them to solve puzzles and progressing through the story and defeating enemies, and we'll probably have to have some of those abilities to defeat some enemies. So you're going to have to get used to using those. And finally, the cutscenes look really good, very fluid, very colorful, and I want to say that if you didn't stick around, maybe you didn't watch the direct, but you watched the trailer that they released after, they revealed a new suit for Samus. It's red and black, looks freaking dope, and they're going to add that bitch into the new Smash Brothers whenever that's coming out, so it just looks spectacular. And I'm excited to see if maybe that adds a different kind of gameplay to Samus. Maybe the suit does something special. We don't know yet, but we'll find out in the near future, I hope. So, a couple of questions I have is, one, when's it going to come out? All they said is that it is going to come out in 2025. Most likely holiday, I imagine, especially with the amount of anticipation that is towards this title. I would probably release it around the holidays. The next thing is, will there be multiplayer? I don't know, but I can't see why not. With the shooter FPS like this, you got to have some form of multiplayer, right, or some kind of special mode outside of the story mode. So again, we'll probably get more in June during that Nintendo Direct, so stick around for that news. But that's all I got on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I keep forgetting that it's called Beyond now. So don't call it Metroid Prime 4. Call it Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So what's next? What's next on my list here? Let's see. We got Tamagotchi Plaza releasing in 2025. I never played any of those. I know people are excited about that, though. The last game was released on the 3DS in Japan only, and that was in 2012. So I'm sure us Americans are excited if you played that. I never did, but let me know your thoughts on that. There's a trailer for all of this out, by the way. So they released a direct, and then they slice it up into their individual trailers and release them on YouTube. So if you want to see the gameplay or announcements yourself, feel free to look them up on the Nintendo YouTube channel. They're there for sure. So next, we got some more Pokemon Legends ZA news. So we got a little bit of a teaser for what might be coming at the end of the last Nintendo Direct actually that was during the Pokemon Day Presents, where they had a little bit of a teaser that just showed, an announcement of some kind, but we weren't sure what. This Direct elaborated on that a little bit more. So basically in Lumio City, a tournament takes place, but it's only at nighttime, and it's called the ZA Royale. And now that I think about it, this reminds me, I don't know if you guys remember this, but if you're even old enough, for those of you that listen to this, but does anybody remember that episode of The Fairly Odd Parents where Timmy wishes that all the kids could stay up late every night to see what their parents do, and they had giant parties at night and stuff like that? That's what I imagine this tournament is going to be like. It's going to be hilarious. But anyway, you'll be battling other trainers but you don't have to. You can avoid them, kind of like the mainline games. So if they see you, they're gonna want to battle. It's just like the normal Pokemon games. Although in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you had to go up to them and talk to them, but in this one it says if they see you, then they'll challenge you. So it's like the old school way of doing it. I don't know why they did it that way, but that's just how it is. The funny part about this is that you can sneak up on trainers and attack them first and get an edge in that battle early. You can sneak up on them like Sam Fisher in Splinter Cell and throw your Pokemon out and have them do an attack without them even... You can just blindside them, and so that's going to be hilarious. If you one-hit quit somebody without even engaging in the battle after that, that's going to be funny. So you'll rank up after battling more and more trainers, and I imagine you're going to face a champion or a series of champions or something along that once you work your way up through all the ranks. You'll start at rank Z and work your way up to rank A. Wow, just like the name of the game, right? So that's the update they gave us this time around. All of these games, or at least most of them, like the big Nintendo games, I imagine we're going to see a lot more information in June, so stick around for that. So they said it's still on track to release in 2025, so I'm looking forward to that one. They did announce a Switch 2 version of that as well, if you're going to get your hands on a Switch 2. So if you're like me, I'm probably going to wait on the Switch 2, so I'm going to get the original edition when it comes out. But Switch 2 versions will be available at launch. And finally, they showcased something called... They showcased more than this. Let me make that clear. This is more than just a few game announcements. There was a lot of game announcements this time around. But again, I'm just highlighting the things that I found the most interesting, what I wanted to talk about. So I think they showed off like one or two more things. One of which was the virtual game card announcement. What is that, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. So they said that it adds some of the flexibility of physical game cards to your digital game library. So it's going to have a dedicated menu for it in a system update in late April this year, so in a couple or a few weeks from the recording of this show. After you open the menu, you will see all of your digital games. You can then, quote-unquote, insert the digital game card into your system, and it'll download it, and then you can play it as soon as you finish downloading it, right? Just like normal. But you can transfer your digital game cards between two systems that can be linked locally with the same Nintendo account. So you'll only be able to link two consoles at the same time. So if you get a new Switch, you'll have to unlink one and link it to the other one. Switch 2 games can be played on, of course, Switch 2, but backwards compatible games can be used on both the new and the old consoles. So some Switch games, not all of them, you'll be able to play on your Switch 2 at the launch. My big thing about this is that you will be able to play games without an internet connection, and users on the same console that are not on your profile or that are not your profile will be able to play those games that are on your digital library. So that's been long overdue because it's been nice, or it's been not nice. It's been aggravating that, like, my fiance, she has Animal Crossing on her digital account, right? But if I want to play it on mine, I can't because it's not on my profile. It's on hers. I have to use her profile for it. So with this, I will be able to play that game because it's on her digital library and I'm on that console. So that's something that should have been there from the get, and I'm finally happy that they added at the end of the console's life cycle. So thank you, Nintendo, for waiting so long. Another thing is you can, quote-unquote, lend your digital games to members of your Nintendo account family group, and they will be able to borrow your games for up to 2 weeks, 14 days. After that, it's going to be automatically returned to your console. unless they decide to return it before that. So the borrower will still have their save data on their console. So if they buy it or rent it again, they will be able to pick up right where they left off. Local and wireless connection will be needed to lend games. So you'll need to connect to the internet to lend games, but if you want to just play it on the same console, you won't need internet for that. Xbox has had their version of this with Game Share. I think PlayStation also has that. So better late than never for Nintendo. Thank you for finally adding this. I'm surprised you even did it to begin with, because I get why you didn't. But at the end of the day, we need to have some sort of consumer-friendly practices, right? And this is the step in the right direction. So other game announcements, Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, that's coming. The trailer, I never played it again. The trailer was weird as hell. And the last game released in Japan only again. Actually, no, it wasn't in Japan only. It was in North America, but it was a year later in North America in 2014. So it's been over a decade, and that's something to look forward to if you like the old ones. And last but not least, they had the Nintendo Today app announcement. So basically, that'll give you a little bit of something to look forward to every day, whether it's small comics, videos that are just fun, or they have game announcements and video game teasers, things like that. They can also send you notifications to remind you about upcoming game releases and upcoming events like more Nintendo Directs, or if you're in New York, I think in Houston or Dallas and Los Angeles, they're having events where you can get a hands-on experience with the Nintendo Switch 2 early. That'll remind you about those events too. So that's pretty cool. I liked it. They already announced the release date of the Legend of Zelda movie, live-action movie. That was one of the first announcements, if not the first announcement on that app. So something to look forward to. If you have a smartphone these days, check out the Nintendo Today app. It's kind of fun to just check what they release every day. It's nothing serious, but something to look forward to every day. Wondering what they're going to announce that day. So I downloaded it. It's pretty cool. You link your Nintendo account and have fun with it. They have a lot of stuff on there. You can set your own reminders if you want to. So just check it out. So that's what I took away from the first Nintendo Direct. We're going to take a little bit of a break here so I can catch my breath. It was a little longer than I anticipated, but thank you for sticking around. We're going to take a little bit of a teeny tiny break. So coming up on the other side of the break, we're going to talk about Nintendo Switch 2 Direct news, my thoughts on that. We're going to give you some of the information that they shared on that and what the hell is going on with that and the release date, pre-orders, all that. A lot of things in flux right now. We're going to go over that. Keep it right here. It's the Split Screen Podcast. All right, we are back. Thank you for sticking around so far. I appreciate it if you made it this far into the episode. Let me know what you think about the last Direct information that I went over. If you watched anything, if you're anticipating anything, looking forward to any of those releases, and what you liked and didn't like about that Direct. Let me know in the comments. You can follow me on social media pages. I forgot to plug those in the beginning, so I'll plug them here. You can follow me on Twitter. We are at SplitScreenKC. I'm on Instagram at SplitScreenKC. And Facebook, Split Screen Podcast. So leave a like, leave a follow, and leave some comments. Give me some feedback on what you like, what you don't like, whether it's about the show or the topics of the show. I listen to criticism. I see the criticism, the constructive feedback. So anything means a lot. Anyway, let's get to the second topic, and that's going to be the new Switch 2 features, and we'll discuss some of the reveals from the other day. That was April 2nd, and I want to know what you all are looking forward to. So with that being said, let's get into those announcements. So the first thing they wanted to share is a new button on one of the Joy-Cons. It's a C button, and it activates game chat. There's a mic built into the Switch system, the console itself, and it'll pick up your voice from a good distance. Apparently it filters out certain sounds too, so whether you're in a busy living room, in your room, listening to music, whatever the case may be, it'll block all that out, or at least most of it, and you'll be able to hear, or you should be able to hear, your voice pretty clearly, and other people's voices as well through your headset or through your TV speakers. You can also share your game screen if you want to do that as well, so they can see what you're seeing and vice versa. And they're releasing a camera, so if you want to show yourself, your face, or whatever you want to show, I don't know what that might be, but they're releasing a Switch 2 camera, and you'll be able to use that as well if you have one of those. Of course, I'm not sure how much it's going to cost. I'm not worried about it because I ain't buying it. That I'm okay with just a simple phone call even while playing if you want to go that far. But generally, I'm not playing online with my friends. If we're playing Switch games, we're usually playing couch co-op. So I don't know. Maybe that's more your speed. Let me know if that's something you want to use. Now, to use this feature, you need a Nintendo Online or a Nintendo Switch Online subscription. So basically, if you're not paying that monthly or yearly price, this button's going to be useless. So I know some people are frustrated or upset about that, about such a basic feature that's being locked behind a Nintendo Switch Online membership. And I get it, I'm not sure about Xbox Live Gold or Game Pass if you need that to be in a party. I'm not sure. But I remember the days where I believe it was called Xbox Live Silver, where it was free and you could have game chat and things like that, but or be in a party and do certain things, very limited obviously, but yeah, I don't know. People are upset about that. You got to pay for an online subscription to be able to use a button that's already built into the Switch console. So I don't know. If you would use any of these features, let me know. I'm probably not going to be using them, even though I do pay for Switch Online. I only pay for that for the Super Nintendo. That's about it. But let me know. Are you gonna pay for a subscription? Does this maybe put you over the edge? Maybe you're on the fence. Does this convince you? And are you gonna consider getting the Switch 2 camera? I mean, I'm gonna pass on it, but I'm sure a lot of folks might find it more useful than I would. So that's one of the new features that they're implementing into the Switch 2. They mentioned another thing called, and I mentioned it earlier, I called it Game Share, but I guess this is the official Game Share that they want to push. And basically, I don't know what certain games it's going to apply to, or if it's going to be all games that have a co-op feature, but you'll be able to game share locally. So if you're playing Mario Party, Mario Kart, whatever the case may be, a game, maybe Splatoon, that takes multiple players, you can share your game via local wireless download, and you can play up to with three other people, and they won't even need to have the game. So that's pretty cool. They're bringing that back. They used to have that on the Nintendo DS and the 3DS. I used to play Mario Kart with my friends all the time that way. So I'm glad they're bringing that back. I think we need that more, and I look forward to playing some games games with some of my friends. Maybe they not have it, so we'll still be able to play. That's kind of nice. Let's talk about just some of the basic specs. I'm not going to go into, major detail. I'm not part of the geek squad for that by any means, but just some basic things. This Switch is going to feature a bigger screen. The last Switch was 6.2 inches. This is going to be 7.9 inches. So the screen was already just massive, but now it's getting even more massive. 1080p, 120 frames per second, and HDR support. So Joy-Con 2, the Joy-Cons on this console will connect magnetically Supposedly that it's supposed to have a pretty strong connection, not easy for it to fall out. I'm worried about that. Still, I'm going to have to experience that myself to maybe change my mind, but I don't know. I just don't trust it as much as it being manually slid in, because that stuff is not going to just yank out. So I don't know. Maybe I'm being overdramatic, but I have kids, and if you have kids, you know that they drop everything. And so I'm afraid that if they drop it, it's going to weaken that connection over time. So that I'm worried about. I'm not worried about me, but I'm worried about that. Anyway, the SL, SR buttons on the Joy-Cons are bigger. The left and right sticks are bigger. And on top of that, the Joy-Cons can be used as a mouse. So you turn them on their sides, and you can use them as a mouse to navigate menus. And I believe that's going to play a big part in some games that are going to be coming out on this console. So they're going to get creative with that. I know, whenever WarioWare comes out on that, that's going to be probably a really big feature for that game. So, if that sounds like something that you would need, you have that to look forward to. I don't really see myself using it all that much, but you never know. It might be a fun way to navigate menus every now and then. I don't know. It's going to have a larger stand. You'll be able to bend it back farther, reach more angles with your screen in tabletop mode. Additional USB-C port on the top of the console, so you can have it charging on the bottom and maybe connect or have it docked, and the camera will connect via that top cable. Or you can, I see it as, using it in tabletop mode, and you'll still be able to charge it in tabletop mode with that C charger on the top. So that's a pretty nice feature. That was one of my pet peeves about the original Switch, is you couldn't charge it while it was on tabletop mode. So that's nice of them to add that. And it's going to come with 256 gigs of internal storage, a lot bigger than what we previously had. I don't remember how much the old one released with, but it definitely wasn't that much. And 4K support, I believe, when docked. So this is a lot better hardware. They're finally catching up to the modern consoles. Of course, that's right before Xbox and PlayStation are rumored to have their consoles coming out within the next 2 years. So we'll see how that stacks up once those are released. But right now, they're pretty much on par for the most part. And again, you'll have some backwards compatibility with Switch 1 games, and I'm sure that'll update over time. So when does this thing launch? It launches on June 5th, and pre-orders were supposed to go live on April 9th, and of course, as soon as the Direct was over, maybe 2 days, it's not as soon as it was over, but 2 days after it was over, they, in America at least, they're pushing back the pre-order, so we won't be able to pre-order it. They don't know what day yet. They'll announce it at a later time, and they're waiting to see what the tariffs do. And I hate to even bring that up in my gaming show, but this does affect the market, and it's going to affect how many people buy this. It's going to affect the sales, and so people are already in their treehouse lives, chat screens saying you need to lower the price of the games, you need to lower the price of the consoles. Yet we have these tariffs that are going to drive up the price anyway. So, yeah, they're pushing back the pre-orders on this. As soon as we get some more information on that, I'll make an episode or I'll put out some tweets in case you're out of the loop on that. So, again, follow me on my socials. I'm going to try to do a better job of keeping those updated with whatever's happening whenever I'm not recording. But politics, business aside, let's talk about some of the things that they announced today. So, those backwards compatibility games are going to go farther than just the Switch 2 games. They're going to add, and this will be just on the Switch 2, they're going to add GameCube games. So we have Super Nintendo, we have Game Boy Advance, we have the Nintendo 64. On the Switch 2, we're going to have GameCube games. So the launch games that is going to be released alongside the console are going to be The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Can't wait to play that. F-Zero GX, I'm excited about that one. I'm honestly surprised they made it available at launch, considering how they treat F-Zero nowadays. And Soul Calibur 2, which is my favorite Soul Calibur, and it's the one with Link in it. So that's going to be dope. I'm excited to play that again. I know, JD, if you're listening, I know that excites you too. So there's going to be Switch 2 editions of games as well. And this was also... So, again, for this Direct, I had a parlay made. I had a 3-leg parlay. I had a Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom remakes on this. I also had, where is it? I had No Star Fox News. That was another one. And I had one more, but I was 2 out of 3 on my parlays. So I think I did pretty good on my parlays this time around. But anyway, so Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 versions are coming. If you want to play the Switch 2 versions of your games, that'll include enhanced frame rates, more controls made for the Switch 2 console, like the mouse controls, and additional content that's going to be added. Like, I know Mario Party, they're going to add games specifically for the Switch 2 that will use the camera, that will use the mouse controls, things like that. You'll have to pay an additional price. I don't think they said what price it is on the Direct, so forgive me for not having that. But you'll have to purchase they're calling it an upgrade pack. So I don't know how much that's going to be. Hopefully not terribly expensive, but let me know how you feel about it. I'm okay with playing the original editions. I didn't do the upgrades with the new consoles, like on Xbox, and I believe a lot of the times they gave you the updated edition for free anyway, or at least for a very cheap price. So I don't know. We'll see how much this is going to cost whenever it comes out. So some more GameCube games that are going to be added later on are going to be, and this is just what they showed in the Direct, but they're going to be Super Mario Sunshine, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. I'm excited about that one. Super Mario Strikers, great game if you haven't played it. Luigi's Mansion, of course, a given. And Pokemon Coliseum. I'm also excited about that one. So, there's a lot to look forward to with this console. It doesn't look like they're going to have a ton of launch content, but, the GameCube games I am excited for. So, along with the GameCube, the throwback games that they're giving you, there's also going to be a Switch 2 version of the GameCube controller. So, again, if that excites you, we all know how beloved the GameCube controller is. I love it, but I don't think I'm going to need it. Now, if Smash Brothers is released and that supports it, that's a different ballgame. But right now, I don't see the need for that. So, let me know. Would you buy a GameCube controller? Because I remember they released one for the Wii as well, or the Wii U, and I remember getting that specifically for Smash Brothers. And so I would probably do the same for this, but let me know what you think. Some games that they announced are, of course, their Mario Kart World game that's going to be available with a bundle. So you can buy the console individually, or you can pay $50 more, I believe. So I believe the console is going to release standalone at $449.99 or $450, and with the bundle with Mario Kart World, it's going to be $500. So yeah, I can wait on the Switch 2. I'm probably not going to get it at launch, but I will be getting it at some point. I just don't know when. Maybe Santa Claus will bring me one. I don't know. But some other games that they announced, Kirby Air Riders, it's coming out this year, so that's a sequel to the Kirby Air Rider that came out in 2003, over 20 years ago. It's like for some reason, they have a thing for the number 20. I don't know what the deal is with that. Maybe that's what Valve is also following too. Maybe we'll get a Left 4 Dead 3 in like 2040. I don't know. We'll see. But aside from that, they announced a Donkey Kong game, a 3D platformer, the first time since the N64 days. So that one I'm really excited for. People are kind of comparing that to Super Mario Odyssey, and I guess I can kind of see that. But the fact that we're getting a 3D platforming adventure Donkey Kong game to begin with is a really special treat because, if they're not going to give us a Donkey Kong Country, a new one, then I will happily take this too. So I'm definitely going to be playing this along with Mario Kart and probably Kirby Air Riders. I'm going to try to play as much as I can whenever I get my hands on a Switch. So Donkey Kong Bonanza is the official name. It looks pretty good. The level design looks great, very colorful, very vibrant. There's so much destruction in this trailer. It literally looks like almost everything can be destroyed in one way or another. You're going to be punching your way through basically everything. And I'll be honest, I don't know how I like the new look for Donkey Kong. I don't know if it's inspired by the Super Mario Brothers movie, but I'm not the biggest fan. I like the original. I'm sure this one will grow on me. And I know this is how he's going to look in Mario Kart World, so they're going to be making this version stick around a lot longer than what I think. But I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts on Donkey Kong's makeover, because me personally, I'm not a huge fan, but it doesn't really make any difference to me, I suppose. That game comes out July 17th of this year, so not too much longer after the launch of the Switch 2. So for those of you who, are going to be playing Mario Kart at launch, you'll have that to look forward to not too long after. So, there's more news that they shared in this Nintendo Switch Direct. Let's go over some of that. I want to talk about my other predictions, by the way. Were no Star Fox news. That's going to be like a gimme. So that's right. And I predicted that we're going to be seeing full-on gameplay from Mario Kart. So I went 3 for 3 on my parlays and 1 for 2 on my other ones. Just so you know. So if you're putting down money, I'm your guy. I'm just kidding. Don't listen to me about anything when it comes to gambling. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But let's talk about Mario Kart real quick. So, I'm just going to get this out of the way. The tracks look pulchritudinous. All right? They look absolutely astounding. So colorful, very detailed, and just everything looks breathtaking. The tracks like DK Pass, you got they look very, there's a lot of variety in them. You have DK Pass, like a snowy mountain top. You've got Peach Resort that looks really, really gorgeous with the way the lighting is against the water. You have whatever the desert canyon map is, or track, I'm not sure what that's called yet. That looks just like a blast. I want to drive through there myself. There's other tracks like there's one that takes place at night, like on a highway, kind of like in the vein of Toad's Turnpike, if you will. And other fun tracks, they look like they take inspiration from old games like Jumpman, like the original one. You'll see it if you watch the gameplay of the games. But you have some ancient ruins that set the scene. It's like a Donkey Kong inspired map again for another track. So it's going to be a very diverse game when it comes to the tracks, and the vehicles that you can race with look just as unique. So a lot to look forward to in this. I'm sure you'll be able to change your wheels and all of that kind of thing like you always could before. They're introducing grinding in this game. So that's going to introduce a whole other level of racing that we didn't even know was possible. Probably opens up a lot of more shortcuts. So what the heck? Are we Sonic the Hedgehog now? Are we actually playing Sonic Adventure 2? Like, what the hell is going on here? Also, we're going to be able to play as a cow. So if you're playing online, expect everyone to be a cow. I'm just saying. So it seems like they're just throwing every side character that's ever been in a game in this. Who knows who else is going to be a part of this thing. And one more thing is there's going to be wall hopping. So you'll be able to jump from one side of the wall to another if it's that close. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot of fun, very interesting to get used to. see how people use these new racing techniques. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we got some new power-ups shown. There's probably a lot more than what they're showing in this. And really quick, I just wanted to give credit to the music team because in the trailer, the soundtrack was banging. And let's give credit to the harmonica and drum solo at the very end of the trailer. Absolutely well done. Bravo. So all of the tracks are going to have a weather and day-night cycle. So that's going to be fun. Lots of weather. And again, the term variety comes to mind because one race might be, raining in the daytime. Next race, it's going to be sunshine. Next race, it might be nighttime and a storm's rolling through. So it's going to be really, really cool. I like the idea of a rolling start at the beginning of every race. I don't know, it just sounds cool. It looks cool. And finally, in certain in game modes, you'll be able to race from like one track to another. So for example, they'll have a knockout tour game mode. So you'll start from one track, you'll race across 4 tracks in a line. So it's basically a point A to point B race, and you'll be racing to the track. So not only are you racing for position on the track itself, but you'll also be driving yourself to the next track. So it's going to be an open world, but you'll be racing in the traditional style. Very interesting take on this, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it whenever the Switch 3 is right around the corner and this thing drops in price. So this will be, again, it'll be available when the Switch 2 comes out, whether you buy it solo or in the bundle. Me personally, I would just get the bundle, so you have something right off the bat to play. So that will be shown in a Mario Kart World Direct. Will be on April 17th at 6 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern, wherever you are. So wherever you are in the world, wherever you're listening, you can set your clocks to whatever your local time is. But, that's basically all they went over. They went over a lot more, but these are just the highlights that I wanted to go over. So let me know what you think of this information. There's going to be more information soon about Mario Kart World. And then probably in June we'll hear more games announced. And I don't know. I don't know if they're going to announce another Direct for even more information on the Switch 2. Who knows? I hope so, because some people still have some questions and might be teetering on whether to buy it or not. I think an Ask Me Anything is in order, in my personal opinion. But let me know. Are you going to buy the Switch 2? Are you maybe going to wait on it, see what the price is going to be pending the tariffs? Or does that even matter to you? Do you want to just outright buy it, and hopefully they'll have some more launch titles in the near future? Me personally, I'm probably going to wait on it. And I don't know. I'm worried about scalpers too. That's my thing. But let me know. Are you going to buy it? Yes or no? Leave it in the comments. Let me know on my social media pages. So we're going to take another break here. Again, another decent segment. So I hope you stick around. Next, we're going to talk about the rumor mill, more specifically Gears of War, and what may be coming in the near future. I know you're probably thinking, Chris, why do you always talk about Gears of War? Well, 1, because it's my show. But 2, Gears is my baby. I love Gears. And whenever there's news about it, I'm going to talk about it. So stick around. It's the Split Screen Podcast. Welcome back. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. I'm having fun making it. Thank you so much for being here if you're still here. And thank you for your feedback. It's always great to hear from you, and I hope you continue to leave that feedback on all of my social media pages. I greatly appreciate it, and I appreciate it if you share the show. Tell a friend. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you do, it's greatly appreciated. So let's get into this last segment of the show. We'll make it kind of a quick one. This is already kind of a long show, but I want to talk Gears of War because of some news that came out not too long ago. all of this news is courtesy of an article on Gaming Bible. So you can find it very easily if you just look up Gears of War trilogy, Gears of War collection, something like that. So the article states that a leaker has posted on, I believe they posted on X, something that called the Gears of War collection is going to be coming to the Xbox Series X and Series S, PlayStation 5, and the PC in mid to late August. So that's huge. That's big time because, well, one, we haven't seen Gears of War in quite some time. The last one was, well, I guess technically you could say that the last one was Gears Tactics, but if we're talking mainline games, the last one that came out was Gears 5 in September of 2019. So it's been a minute, not terribly long, but long enough to where, people are ready. People want a new game or something in the Gears franchise to keep us going until Gears E-Day. And that is part of the article. While there was no specific release date, they seem to think that an announcement is coming in June during Xbox's Game Showcase that happens every year in June, and then release time in mid to late August. So I don't know. This person leaked before that Forza Horizon 5 was going to the PlayStation before the announcement was made, and now they're talking about a Gears of War collection going to PlayStation 5. So they have predicted some things correctly. You can say that they're, accountable, or not accountable, but they're someone that you can mostly trust when it comes to these kinds of things, and they're credible. But even with things like that, you should always take it with a grain of salt. So the fact that Gears of War is even going to the PlayStation shouldn't be a shocker. I think for the most part, everybody saw it coming, especially after Forza Horizon 5 went over there. I don't think Halo was off the board either. There's rumors about a Halo, like the Master Chief Collection, making its way over to PlayStation. Who knows if that's really going to happen, but that's been going around as well. So while there's no specific release date, there wasn't any mention of what specific games are going to be in the collection as well. So if it were up to me personally, I would focus on making this release about, let's just say that this release is actually happening. Hypothetically speaking, I would make this focus on the original trilogy and then throw in Judgment while we're at it. Just see how that works. The article stated that two separate leakers actually have stated that the collection will not feature any form of multiplayer PvP and focus solely on the campaign. So, and those were posted by Detective Seeds, and that was backed up by Windows Central's Jez Coden. I apologize if I mispronounced your name there, but he also has a really good article about about Microsoft's upcoming handheld PC. Give that a read. It's also pretty good. It has a lot of information in there. All rumors again, but he seems to be very involved in a lot of things involving Microsoft. So obviously with a name like Windows Central, you would be, but he has some articles about some things that haven't been announced yet. So maybe that's something that would interest you. Check it out. But anyway, the fact that they're not going to be throwing in multiplayer, people like that. People don't. I personally don't mind, considering, I can see that affecting PlayStation users since they haven't been able to experience that multiplayer experience that Gears has to offer. But, for someone like me who has grown up playing these games and loves these games, I've read the books, I've done a lot, and comic books and things like that, and have played the multiplayer since the beginning. it doesn't really matter to me personally. I can always go back and replay that since I have Game Pass, so they're always available. But my main thing is that these campaigns should be full-on remasters. Like, I'm talking Master Chief Collection level remasters of that original trilogy, because the Coalition did such a good job with Ultimate Edition, with the remake of Gears of War 1, and they did a fantastic job with the cutscenes. They did a fantastic job with all of the sounds, with all of the just retexturing everything. Everything looked gorgeous. The lighting was a big step up from the original Gears. So it was a really fun play, a very refreshing take on a decade-old game. So I hope that's the case with this too. I would love to see Gears 2 remastered, especially considering how gorgeous the Holo should look, and how, I mean, it looks good to this day, but I think seeing it with modern day consoles and the technologies that they provide, it would be even more stunning. So when would this be announced? Like I said, probably in June, if it is real. And I assume that it would be on Game Pass, right? But for PlayStation, who knows? Maybe it'll be a $60, $70 release still, considering that PlayStation has never had these games before. But that's what I wouldn't hope for that, but that's what I would expect. But who knows? I'm not part of the industry, so I don't know. I don't know how much it would actually cost, but I won't have to worry about that if I have Game Pass. That's what I'm worried about. But anyway, so what does that mean for those of us paying for Xbox Game Pass when a bunch of exclusives are going to other consoles now? I mean, what's the point of owning an Xbox at this point if, exclusives are going to be on other consoles down the line anyway? Who knows, right? People have different viewpoints on this. People like to trust the fact that it's just Xbox. They grew up with Xbox. That's why they still have it. That's why I still have mine. Of course, I also had mine for Halo and Gears. But with those potentially going over to PlayStation, it's kind of just pick your poison at this point. It wouldn't really sway me one way or the other. But I see that Game Pass is still a big reason for me to keep my Xbox when all of these exclusives could potentially be going over to other consoles and PC. And I know the Activision acquisition was a big thing for Xbox too. We got Black Ops 6 on Game Pass. We got Modern Warfare 3 on Game Pass. Every other Call of Duty is going to be on Game Pass for those of you who are big Call of Duty people like I am. So I'm still going to be keeping Xbox. Game Pass is the main reason, but if you're talking about just exclusives, then yeah, it's just up to you if you view those exclusives as the only thing tying you to a console, then yeah, maybe you will pick up a PlayStation after that. I don't know. But speaking of console exclusives moving over, Forza Horizon 5 is going to be releasing on PlayStation 5 on April 29th of 2025. And other rumors that I've seen circulating are about Starfield and, of course, Halo on the other side. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, that was also on Xbox. That's going to be going to PlayStation at some point in the spring of 2025, at least according to an article I saw. So, again, if exclusives are your sole reason of buying like they were for me, at least they used to be, then, maybe it is time to check out a different console. But, Game Pass is the one thing that will always keep me on Xbox. It's just too good of a deal. And I think Xbox is losing money on that deal, but you know what? I'm getting my money's worth out of it, so I'm going to keep it as long as they're willing to offer it. But what do you make of it? What exclusives do you think Xbox will keep? Is anything sacred anymore? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know with your feedback. I just wanted to talk about that very quickly because it's very interesting to me how, I never thought that Gears could potentially be going over to the other side, yet here we are. And supposedly that's supposed to happen soon, at least, of course, if these rumors hold up, which I'm not expecting them to. But I hope it's true just because of the fact that I want to see these campaigns remastered. If they are running on Unreal Engine 5 like the next Gears game will, then they're going to be absolutely gorgeous. And I think that those old games deserve the Master Chief Collection treatment of getting updates for new generations. I think it's overdue. Gears of War 1 got it. I think it's time for Gears 2, at the very least, to get that same treatment. And I hope that's the case, because we haven't heard anything on Gears E-Day either since they announced that last year during the game showcase. And we'll probably be hearing more about that this year. At least I hope so. Maybe at the very least a release date. And this would be a good thing to hold people over in the meantime. So if these are released, you guarantee that I'm going to be begging JD and Seth to join me out there on the battlefield. Hope you guys join me in that as well. Anyway, that's all I got for this episode. If you made it this far, props to you, man. You can deal with me that long, then I love you. And so hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the Split Screen Podcast. Again, leave your feedback, leave some topic ideas. I'd love to hear them. And next episode, hopefully I will have a guest on there. I have some ideas for a fun little topic that we can do next time. So hopefully that works out. If not, no biggie. We'll get it on here either way. But my name is KCCHRISG. I hope you enjoyed the show. This has been the Split Screen Podcast. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Amazon. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on a lot of things. So please leave a like, leave a follow if you enjoy the show. Share it with someone if you really like it enough, and that would mean the absolute world to me. So I'm KCCHRISG. It's been a pleasure being your host. Again, follow the show on X, we're SplitScreenKC, Instagram, SplitScreenKC, and Facebook, Split Screen Podcast. So leave likes, follows, shares, all that kind of thing are greatly appreciated. And whatever it is, wherever you are, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you finish out strong. And I will see you in the next episode of the Split Screen Podcast. Take care, everyone.